Hello, my name is Heather Littlefield, and this is my Week 3 summary for Physics 111 day class. This week focused on motion, force, velocity, and acceleration. All of these pieces relate to and act upon one another. Through class discussion, reenactments, and technical applications, we learned about these topics. Each exercise built upon the last to create a complete understanding of real-world applications for these concepts. On Monday, we began class with an activity about motion. We used Logger Pro to try to recreate velocity graphs that David gave us. First, as a group, we would look at the graph and discuss how we thought each section was created. Then we used Logger Pro to attempt and recreate the graph to see if our predictions were correct. We did this with 2 different graphs. Next, we practiced using position versus time graphs to create velocity graphs. We worked with different speeds, positions, and directions to learn how those changes would reflect on velocity. We ended the first class by discussing force. As a group, we discussed what we know and don't know about force. Then, after a gallery walk of other groups, we sat down and had a brief lecture about how forces act upon an object both stationary and in motion. On Wednesday, we took our knowledge one step further and talked about acceleration graphs. We practiced graphing from position versus time to velocity through to acceleration. After discussing acceleration, we moved on to mass, density, and weight. We discussed the difference between the 3 and how they are related to one another. These definitions should come in handy when working with calculations for our race cars. Each team finally got a chance to pick their car and get its mass. Then we ended class by doing a video analysis demonstration on Logger Pro. This demonstration showed us how to make a video and calculate an object's velocity. We will use this program when working with our cars next week. When I was not in class, most of the time was spent reviewing the class information and taking quizzes that reflected what we had learned in class. The velocity graphs were difficult to match. The main problem we had was with moving at a constant velocity. We assumed that using a rolling chair instead would create a more accurate result. This was the case, however. It was difficult and we were never able to match it exactly. The hand graphing portion was simple, and it's just a matter of taking your time and thinking it through. The acceleration graphs were much more difficult. Although we did not act them out, the act of creating an acceleration graph in the first place posed quite a challenge. In this case, it is important that you do one graph at a time. It is very easy to get jumbled up between the 3. Again, it is a matter of working slowly and completely. The fun part of the week began once we got our race cars. The video demonstration was interesting and fun, so I hope next week will be pretty hands-on. Now I must work on practicing my graphing. All of these graphs seem pretty easy in class, but I need to be able to do these backwards and forwards when I do my interview with David. So it is important that I have no questions or concerns. Along with my practice, I need to catch up on all my classwork and get prepared for our first project. I want to make sure that I am a helpful teammate for my group and that I am able to contribute to our project. I am not an extremely advanced math student, so I'm not sure I can hold my own with the calculations. By making sure I understand all the definitions, calculations, and graphs that we went over this week, I believe I will have a firm grasp on what we need to accomplish. This week had a lot of new information and concepts. I feel like we covered more this week than we have all semester so far. We are officially out of introductions and ready to pick up the thick of physics. It is important to keep up, ask questions, and practice the work. Force, acceleration, motion, and velocity are basic concepts of physics that will be paramount to understanding more complex theories and practices later in the semester.